The power of words, positive and responsible parenting. Parents are very vocal about their needs for love, respect, recognition, and care from their children. A major worry that parents have these days is, why is not my child respecting me? Or why is my child ignoring me? And the common response to that is to make the child listen to the parent by the use of fear and sometimes disgust, expressed mainly through words. Many parents consciously use this technique, while for the vast majority, this is a very unconscious yet a natural, effortless process. There are many reasons why children behave in particular ways, and I will not be dealing with all. Rather, I would take a small topic which comes within the broader spectrum of communication, the word, which most people systematically choose to neglect. What parents fail to realize is that the child is far more observant than the parent is. The child can swiftly judge the parent's behavior, and that integrity in the parents is the most vital thing of all, which begs the question, what are the responsibilities of a parent towards a child when it comes to that of the word? Therefore, rather than spiraling around the questions like, why is not my child respecting me? Or why is my child ignoring me? The parent should ask himself or herself, what did I do that my child is not respecting me or ignoring me? Most parents consider children like their property, as a right, as a matter of pride, as a means of satisfaction of their egos. Khalil Gibran's quotes on children are very apt in this context, where the great poet says that though parents may feel empowered, that it is they who have begotten this child because the genes are theirs, they are just a channel, he reminds. He compares the parents to a bow and the children as arrows that are purely at God's mercy. To quote from his poetry titled On Children, your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And to read further, you may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. Psychologists speak about the mirror stage in children, which is when they are much smaller, much younger in age. But as a matter of fact, one should know that parents are the people who should be the closest to the children. And initially, children do not know any other being whom they can trust so blindly. Children initially consider parents to be their role models. Don't worry that children never listen to you. Worry that they are always watching you, says Robert Fulghum. Our thoughts become our words, and words transform into actions. If parents do not display integrity throughout, it shatters the trust that the child has entrusted with the parents. What is integrity? Sadhguru says, if you have children, first of all, you have to establish integrity. Your words and actions should match. And it should match consistently and continuously. It should not be a sham in front of your children. Mostly, we see instances wherein parents continuously scold the child for doing something that the parent would love engaging in, be it getting glued to the mobile screens or the television sets, or shouting at someone, so on and so forth. When we compare spoken and written communication, 95% of human communication, strictly in domestic contexts, happen in the spoken form, the word. Not neglecting the non-verbal communication through gestures and such, but largely, words are all that parents have to communicate their love, their affection, their anger, their disappointments and hope. And the relationship between gestures and words are always complementary. One boosts the other. Words have the power to motivate you, your child, break your child, build your child, enhance confidence in the child, and thus mold the character and personality of the child. So, each word that the parent uses in front of the children must be a conscious and careful attempt. Whether or not it is directed at them is irrelevant. Rachel Walshin says, "Be mindful when it comes to your words. A string of some that don't mean much to you may stick with someone else for a lifetime." What lofty words! How much of a depth of meaning these words carry. There are many stories, biographies, and memoirs that deals with the kindness that words must carry and how it shapes the individual for the rest of his or her life. Remembering APJ Abdul Kalam's narration of how his father ate a burnt roti without any complaints and also appreciated his mother for making it. Kalam notes how he set an example for him when he was very small, saying that the appreciation would mean a lot for his mother, who has set her entire day in the kitchen preparing food for them. And though it is true that the roti is slightly burnt, one should always keep in mind that she did not do it intentionally. Likewise, another example is that of Sugroto Bakchi's mother, who, when she was critically ill, Bakchi had to complete an official assignment. And when he was hesitant, he went to her and asked her, but she asked him to go kiss the world. Again, it is quoted. A rare expression that most mothers would hesitate to render. Usually, they would have tremendous grievances about children not giving them time enough, which when presented through words would translate as they're giving more importance to their spouse or children or work, or tying them down with the obligation that I cared for you when you were young, now you should care for me when I am old. In short, it would translate as the child's, now adult's, selfishness. The beach or the seed of selfishness is a tag of guilt that would be borne by this child, in this case, the adult, till his or her death. It is not because the conscience of the child's self is saying so. It is artificially sown by the parent in the child's or the adult's head. Words have such tremendous power that can and never must be neglected or ignored under any circumstance. To go beyond, I'd like to push it a little further. Have you ever thought that the choice to be a parent was purely the parents and the child had no role in it whatsoever? The joy of parenting was a conscious choice exercised by the parents. But the obligation of taking care of the parents as a return gift that most parents expect for their conscious choice, in which the other individual had no say. Dear listeners, if your child loves you and if you have treated your child with respect, then the child will love you back and respect you, and it would translate to caring for you, and you would not need to pin them down with any obligation ever. I use the term child for an adult also deliberately because the child in us never dies. We always long for the care and pampering of our parents, however big we grow. Remembering Frank A. Clark, who suggested that a baby is born with a need to be loved and never outgrows it. Never outgrows it. A child always needs vatsalya or adoration and pampering. The child, be it in an early age or in a mature age, always will try to reciprocate the behavior of a parent, will always try to live up to the perspectives that the parents invest in him or her. A popular interpretation of the chemistry or ways of interaction between Krishna and his mothers, Yashoda and Devaki, is noteworthy. It's very interesting. Devaki is ruminating that she heard Krishna is playful and he loves eating butter, And he is so naughty and plays pranks that are so delightful. And yet, she fails to find these traits in him. She yearns for it as a mother. Upon asking Krishna, he replies that, for Yashoda Ma, I am still the young child who fulfilled her needs of motherhood, and motherhood is always associated with pure unconditional love, and hence I can play harmless pranks, for I know that I would be forgiven. Ma Devaki treats me like a god. For her, I am the responsible Raja, the administrator, the dutiful brother to my other siblings and cousins, the advisor, the son who was mature enough to free her from prison. Hence, it is only possible for me to transcend to my childlike qualities when I am considered to be one. My Yashoda innocently and lovingly hugs me. Ma Devaki thinks of appropriateness before displaying any such gestures since I am God. My Yashoda has brought me up and forever I will remain as a child for her no matter what. She would fail to see the administrator in me and will still long for that prankful yet caring energy. Ma Devaki has seen me only after I have grown up, and she would only realize me as a mature individual. Krishna also points out that he is indebted to both his mothers, the one that birthed him and the one that nourished him with her milk and her care. This interpretation throws light on the perspectives children have about parents also, and the responsibilities of the parents to live up to that. It also speaks volumes about the goals of parenting and the power of words and expressions, of the conscious choices we make. Birthing a child is not that defines parenthood. We have great examples like Sita, Shakuntala, Kripa, Kripi, Karna, etc. Multiple examples of children and their interaction with parents. Beyond our identities of being a mother, a father, sister, brother, we have to extend this consciousness in using the word carefully in all the contexts, because we are continuously in interaction with so many people all the time. The Greek mythology identifies Athena as born from Zeus' head, making her the mother of wisdom. This is highly metaphorical. This universal wisdom should be imparted to the children by the parents, and that defines the higher responsibility of being one. And parents themselves should act with wisdom when using the word to communicate with their children. We always observe parents competing with each other, and as it is reiterated every time, it gets redirected at the children also. What kind of conclusion will the child derive? Such words do greater damage than anything else. The result is an internally conflicted adult. Whatever we do in the childhood, the reflection of it appears more predominantly when they mature. In the education field, we continuously deal with emotional issues of children, small, young adults, all ages. Either they have problems expressing their emotions, or they have problems in emotional self-regulation, like controlling anger, controlling grief, both created in their early years of childhood. Parents not expressing their emotions of love towards the child creates the first one, and parents continuously being overly too loose with their emotions and not caring for the child's emotions creates the second one. A child who is never appreciated enough grows up to be an adult who continuously sabotages everything and has difficulties in appreciating self. It is never enough for them. It often disguises itself as humility, but it is not. Early manifestations in school life of a parent who abuses the child verbally or others verbally in front of the child is explicit in children who tend to be abusive towards their classmates or friends and use bad words throughout. Later on, it develops into an aggressive behavior, or it may develop into an embarrassment kind of a situation wherein upon maturity, the child is continuously shy, reserved, and demotivated as an adult. So, do you really want your child to have such issues? Think about it. American author Jessamine West says that a broken bone can heal, but the wound a word opens can fester forever. So much is the power of words. I am not saying that parenting has to be perfect. No parenting can ever be perfect, but it's a daily exercise, a mindful practice at improving oneself consistently. Even if parents make mistakes, it is always better to own it up. Looking at the child's age, of course, whenever there is a realization, there is absolutely nothing wrong in owning up to one's own vulnerabilities. One thing is that by disclosing your vulnerabilities to the child would gain confidence that everyone is vulnerable, and it will encourage a child to speak about his or her vulnerabilities. The power to listen to your child's vulnerabilities without being judgmental is another important quality that has to be maintained consciously by the parents throughout their lives. Also, parents should be bold enough to apologize to their children in case they have offended them. This way, they are imparting an important lesson to their next generation. Lanka Sri Jayaraj opines that people make 4 kinds of falls generally while using the word. First one, using harsh words. Second one, slandering perpetually or allegedly. Third one, talking irrelevantly. And fourth one, telling lies. The Tirukural says that in Grahastha, that is in domestic life, a person should be generous enough to use only pleasing and euphonic words. Euphonic words are sweet to the ears kind of words. And for all the kin to be united and around them, both the sweet words and generosity play the trick. It should be used. When we speak about the word, the opposite of it, silence, also resonates itself. Within every word, there is silence, and within every silence, there are words embedded. In Hinduism, silence or mauna is a key concept that is considered important for mental discipline, self-purification, and spiritual growth. It is believed that silence can help people connect with their inner selves in a better way and attain higher truths. This way, they become individuals with a higher consciousness. Pure consciousness and silence is closely linked together in the Hindu Dharma because of the realization of the multiple facets of the power of words. One facet is the possibility of multiple interpretations. The other facet is that of mood afflictions and its dominance on the spoken word. The next facet is that of lack of vocabulary and the inability of meaningful articulation. The art of choosing the right words and the right expression according to the context. And yet, there is the plurality of many rights. Each one person has his or her own version of what is right. There is the perspective of pure thoughts, thoughts being linked to the purity of the mind, the concept of purity that could never be measured, and words being nothing but a reflection of those thoughts, and thoughts leading to further actions, and actions depicting the overall integrity of a person, a judgment of his or her character and behavior. Therefore, for peace of mind, for self-realization, for removing of ego or ahankar, for spiritual growth, silence is advocated. In Buddhism, silence translates as emptiness, a state that becomes vital to search the truth, and yet represents both wordiness and wordlessness within it. A powerful tool to resist samsara. Samsara is the endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. In Jainism, silence conveys authority and control, both applied in the spiritual context. Ahimsa or non-violence is a central tenet of Jainism. It is a way of life that defines the avoidance of intentional and unintentional harm to any living being through thoughts, speech, and action, and hence silence is recommended for the practice of ahimsa. But silence cannot be truly manifested in grihastha, where parenting is an important aspect. Do not take me wrong. What defines a parent is not the ability to give birth to a child. Rather, it is the higher responsibility of providing, protecting, and nurturing, not just the body, but the soul of the child. The belongingness of the child must not be restricted to a particular family alone, but rather protracted to that of a child of the world, of extended people, of good citizenship. There are multiple roles an individual plays as citizens, as people who we are today, defined by our personal and professional roles. We become teachers to many, people who educate others, albeit informally, and in the philosophical context of the term, shoulder a higher responsibility in the careful and mindful consciousness of the word, a responsibility that one can never shy away from. The 5 pillars of non-violent communication are respect, understanding, acceptance, appreciation, and compassion. This is applicable in all the contexts of communication. Raise your words, not your voice. It is rain that grows flowers, not thunder, reminds Rumi. I thank Father John Manarathara CMI, a good friend of mine, for having extended this opportunity to me. I was very happy interacting with you all. I wish and hope you enjoyed listening to me. Thank you, everyone. Namaste.